Little pigs, let me come in. Not by the hair on your chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. Here's Johnny.
Hello. So I'm once again on my bedroom floor. And also my position is kind of altered towards this direction. And the reason for that is because this is my bed right here. And the corner of my bed is right here. And where I film is right here. Well, that makes no sense at all. I don't have a tripod. You're literally leaning against a candle. So if I were to like sit on my bed to like be more comfortable and make it less of an awkward position, you wouldn't be seeing my face. It'd be a little high up, you know, for my taste for a video. But that's not why we're here. We are here because it's Mother's Day. And I had quite a few different ideas on what I was gonna do for this video. My first idea was going over some amazing albums done by great musicians, kick butt mothers. But right now it is 3 a.m. and for me to make that list, I do not have the brain power. So what's an easy video I can do that is somewhat Mother's Day themed? And there was just one thing that came to mind that didn't require me to think too much about it. So, taking a completely different turn on the term of the Mother's Day theme, I'm doing a Frank Zappa, you know, in the Mothers of Invention video, where I will just show what I have now of my Frank Zappa and especially like the Mothers of Invention. I did not enjoy Frank Zappa the first few times I heard him. Was not a fan. I thought it was weird. I didn't get it. And it didn't appeal to my ear at all. But since then, boy, has my music taste changed. When I first started collecting and especially like just listening to music, I would definitely do like a 3-song trial. And then if I liked it, I'd keep going. And if I didn't, I'd stop. Which is not a great way to base things off of, but that's just how I did it. And that's how I really started my initial taste in what my music preference was. But you know, we've grown from there. So with that in mind, while a lot of people, when they do these videos, they go from like the earliest albums in their career to like the latest, you know, they go in order, you know, like a sane person. I am not gonna do that. Sorry, my albums are right here. That's why I'm smacking this. I ordered them not in year, but in when I bought them. And I know my exact feelings when I bought these albums because it was very recent. I only really started like collecting and getting really into Frank Zappa's music career in this past year because I put them off so long because I just didn't like them the first time I listened to them. So the first Zappa related album that I bought was a Mother's album, kind of. And it was like a greatest hits compilation of the Mother's songs. What I knew going into this album was I knew the song Concentration Moon, and I liked it. I really liked that song. I'm not sure why specifically that was the one song I knew, but it is what it is. That's the song I knew, and that's I saw this album at a garage sale and I picked it up. My first experience with this album was not good. I just didn't get any of it. None of it made sense to me. It was weird. I was like, it's fine. It's an album I spent $1 on. Let's just move on. Next. So really it was about maybe 3 years ago that I maybe bought that album, and it took until this past year for me to come back around. It took me that long. I decided to give it another shot, but I decided to approach things differently, and I decided to do a solo Zappa album. I knew the song Uncle Remus, so I thought it was a safe bet to get apostrophe. There's that label. I liked Apostrophe, and I thought it was better than that Greatest Hits album I heard. I thought it was easier for me to listen to, and it was something I didn't have to think too hard about. I really liked Comic Debris and Nanook Rubs It. I was all over that. My phone keeps slipping. Okay. I need to get a tripod, Jesus. Anyway, so I loved Apostrophe. I thought it was great. For me, this got the Jenna Guaranteed seal of approval. I forgot what I named it in the last video. So I was like, okay, I'll give the Mothers another shot. And the album that I went with was Freak Out. This is a rough copy. The cover is not cute, but you know, the vinyl is still there and it plays well. And I think this really sealed the deal as being, I think it was just my ear at the time I heard it first. So it was official that I was gonna further my experience in the Zappa field. So the next album that I got was a Mother's album. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I went with One Size Fits All. To me, this was a major game changer. Just overall showing the guitar work and just like all of the crazy like things that make Zappa's music Zappa. Girl, one never forgets their first experience listening to Inca Roads. And honestly, I don't think there's a bad song on this album. San Bernardino. There's not a bad one. So honestly, there's no way I could have gone wrong with this album, and my listening experience was through the roof. I think at this point, I wasn't really looking for the Mothers, and I wasn't looking for any Zappa specifically when I was going in the store. It was just if I came across it, maybe I'd pick it up. And so this, I think, was that album that made me realize I'm gonna shop for Zappa. I'm gonna shop for the Mothers from now on. My wallet said that was a mistake. So my next one was an album that I was really getting into. I fell head over heels for, and it was first from streaming. I'm gonna be completely honest. I first streamed it, and I was just obsessed with it. And it was one that I had always seen. I'd always seen this album, and it seemed like the one time I wanted it, and I was gonna pick it up, it was nowhere to be found. But that's always how it is, you know? So we went into another store in downtown KC, and my friend Roxanne, the angel, the goddess, from like, I see her just from like across a couple bins, and she just goes like, girl, she knew I was looking for this album left and right. This is still one of my favorite like Mothers albums. I have a thing with live albums. And you'll probably know that as more videos come out. I have a really big thing with live albums where I just love them more. And this album, I love more than the original stuff. So the next album that I picked up, Shake Your Booty. I love this album cover so much. If you ever feel insecure about your pores, honey, buy this album. It'll make you feel a lot better. It's a confidence booster. The only song I knew going into this album was Bobby Brown. And based off of that song, I did not expect the rest of the album to sound like it did. I did not expect the killer heavy guitar on this album. I didn't expect it. I love the little percussion, like in between some of the songs. I love that. It pushed all the right buttons. Now we're gonna get more into his solo stuff too. So I would say after like 4 solid albums of complete like home runs, I was totally, my album just ended. I'm gonna put on Shake Your Booty just because we just talked about it. Okay, I changed the album. So the next route I decided to go was staying on the Zappa solo route. The next one I came across was Joe's Garage, Act 1. I know a lot of people hate the glare, so I'll like take it out. I'll pull out the label too. So Joe's Garage, girl. I think everyone can agree that it's fun. It's fun, it's funny, it grabs your attention, pulls you in. It's like it's a story. I love the thing he did with the central scrutinizer. I don't know, I like it. I think if someone was gonna listen to Frank Zappa for the first time, I would probably recommend this one or Apostrophe, but Probably this one, just because it's fun and it gets you pulled into the story, and even if you don't love the music, you're at least tracking along with the story and having fun with it. After that, I decided to go back into a little bit more of the Mother stuff, and I am going back to the album that really turned me off the first time I listened to the Mothers, and that's We're Only in It for the Money. Concentration Moon was, again, my first song that I heard and I liked it, but I think just the rest of the stuff on that greatest hits that was from We're Only in It for the Money just was unsettling to me. I didn't like it. So you know how crazy it was to, like, 3 years later be like dying to find it on vinyl, or at least like a decent copy of it. The album itself plays pretty well. The cover's not great, but I think it's pretty rare that you find one in perfect condition. The inside, of course, is a parody of Sgt. Pepper's. Down to the nose, look at that. Down to the nose, and like the back cover. I'm expecting like a few of those comments to be like, why don't you have Absolutely Free? And why don't you have Uncle Meat? And why don't you, like, all of those amazing albums, 200 Motels. I see those albums every single time I look in the Zappa section at my local record stores. I always see them. But I don't always see Weasels Ripped My Flesh, nor have I seen it recently at all. So if I saw that one alongside Uncle Meat, you bet your butt I'm gonna grab Weasels Ripped My Flesh. But I still love all those albums, and I've still listened to those albums a lot. I stream them because I don't need them right away. It's a game of patience for me with this collection. It's a huge discography. I don't want all of the discography, but I love a big portion of it. So it's gonna take a while for me to actually fill a lot of those gaps. My friend Roxanne has been with me in the stores basically through this entire Zappa completion project. I think it's kind of funny that she can watch this video and really pinpoint the time with all these albums. And I say that specifically because my next one is Zappa in New York. I love it. I love this album. Do you remember what I said earlier about live albums? I tell you what though, my girl Roxanne and I, we can always jam out to Titties and Beer. Titties and Beer, Titties and Beer. It's just a funny song. It's fun, it's good, it's a great album. As I continued to dig myself deeper and deeper into the Zappa hole, I really lacked in his instrumental, orchestral pieces and works. So that was my next step. That I was like, this is my next phase in my Zappa collection. So that's what I did. And I started off with one of his best, the Grand Wazoo. Girl, the Grand Wazoo. I love this album. This is one of my favorites of his orchestral stuff. It's a great album. I'm gonna show the label again. This type of instrumental music was something I had yet to really hear. I never really heard anything quite like this before. That's kind of one of the things that makes it really special, and I think this is unique in itself, even within Zappa's discography. I think this piece holds a pretty high pedestal when it comes to his talent in writing music. I think this one really holds a high pedestal in that. So if you want to get into the like instrumental aspect of Zappa's career and something that isn't Hot Rats, this is definitely where I would go next. That's where I went, and it worked. It's awesome. And obviously I really liked the more instrumental aspects of Zappa's career because this was my next find. This is another one of those albums where like the cover is not great, but the vinyl's in great shape. I don't know what it is with some of these Zappa albums, but like it will either be in the best condition or just some of these albums in particular always have some kind of issue. This is a great album. It was totally worth it for me. I'm glad I got it. Now, I'd say probably in this point, I really like all of the different aspects and different parts of Zappa's career. So now, whatever I found that was on my list, I picked it up first. That's kind of what the order is from now on. And so next I found parts 2 and 3 of Joe's Garage. Ooh, probably have a hard time picking a favorite between the first act and the second and third. I'd probably say the first one just because I fell head over heels for it when I first listened to it. This one is still amazing. Great album. I was not disappointed with the continuation of Joe's Garage. So this one was definitely a leap of blind faith. And Bongo Fury, but I love Beefheart and I love Zappa. So I felt there was absolutely no risk in this album. And I was right, no risk whatsoever. It's a great album. I probably, compared to a lot of the other Zappa albums, it's maybe not the one I play the most, but it's definitely one I go to every once in a while, just if I want something a little different. These two were just both so different from everything else that was out there. Definitely they have differences within both of their music. I think that aspect of being outside of the box compared to a lot of the other mainstream people really brought them together and made them kind of connect with each other to where they could really just produce some A+ stuff. So there's a label on that one. So this is the next one that I bought, and it was $4. It's a relatively cheap Zappa album. It probably not my favorite, but definitely worth the $4. If you do come across it and it's at the right price, I would definitely say shoot, go for it. Now this is an album that I was obsessed with from the very first acceptance point of Frank Zappa. Once I accepted Frank Zappa, this was the first thing on my list and the hardest thing, I think, to find on my list of the stuff that I have now. This next one was A Gift by Roxanne. Take a shot every single time I say her name. I love her to death. Now, I showed this album in my last video, so you already knew I had it, but there's the label. Girl, I'm taking good care of her. I got her in the fancy little static sleeves. This album, honey, this album. It's perfect. Everything about it is perfect. Like, I don't even know what to say about it. Even if you don't like Zappa or you don't like anything that he's created or like worked on, I feel like you legally have to get Hot Rats at least once in your life. This next one I bought for my birthday. A few friends and I, we went to Lawrence. So for my birthday, a few friends and I, we went to the record store, and that was really just all I really wanted to do for my birthday. I, honest to God, can't tell you if that's sad or not. I don't know. Who cares, because that's what I wanted to do. So we did it. My friend Olivia was digging through the Billy Joel. My friend Roxanne, I forgot what she got. She did not walk away empty-handed, so don't worry. But I saw this on the wall. Usually when you see something on the wall, the first thing that comes to mind is expensive. It was Thingfish. It was not expensive. It was $18. It does have a little crease right there, like dent in the box. A lot of the older box sets do that. Thingfish. It's an interesting album. I don't love it. I think for $18 it was good for the collection's sake, but I think it's definitely on the bottom end of my list when it comes to Zappa albums. I can't even think if there's a hit on here. Maybe He's So Gay might be the biggest hit on here, I'm pretty sure. It's an extra level of weird. It just makes me uncomfortable. I just don't like the voices in it, like, because there's a lot of commentary on this album and there's like a lot of like little mini stories and stuff. Something doesn't sit right with me and kind of ruins my experience with this album. But there is some stuff on here that I think is worth listening to. Another one of those albums I wouldn't have you search all over the earth looking for, so. Now this next batch of albums, and I say batch like a batch, is literally what I bought right before quarantine. This was my pre-quarantine stack. All of the record stores closed down, especially like the whole Kansas City area was just dead. Like you couldn't do anything. But St. Joseph, Missouri still was open. So I was like, I'm gonna blow the bank. I'm gonna get all the material I need for this quarantine. So I did, which is kind of weird to think about now, considering it was like, what, 2 months ago? Like, it was 2 months ago. Crazy. I basically bought out the entire Zappa section to just prepare myself for this time. Girly, this album is great. It's weird going back to Thingfish. It was too weird for me. This This is like the perfect balance between weird and like amazing, you know? Like you gotta have that equal balance. I can't tell you how many times Rudy Wants to Buy You a Drink got stuck in my head when I got this album. But yeah, it's not too weird, it's perfect. But yeah, I love this album and it's got a lot of great stuff on it, so definitely recommend. So the next one that I got was Tinseltown Rebellion. I think for the Zappa fans, this is like hit or miss with this album. For me, it's a hit. I really like this album. It's again got a lot of those quirky vibes to it, and it also has some classic stuff on it. My first time listening to this entire album was on a ride to Knoxville, Tennessee with Roxanne. Take a shot. And the first time I heard the Panty Raid, girl, I couldn't keep myself together in that car. I made her listen to it. I'm so sorry, Roxanne. Take another shot. This pressing, honest to God, I don't know what it is. This looked closest to one, I think, that looked like it was from New Zealand. But yeah, if you guys know specifically this one, which one this is, maybe I was just doing really bad research, but I couldn't figure it out. So if you happen to know or you have a similar copy, let me know. The next one that I pulled up from that bin was Sleep Dirt. Sleep Dirt surprisingly was pretty hard to find. I hit the Zappa jackpot right before quarantine, and it couldn't have come at a better time, I'm telling you. I hate to be basic, but Filthy Habits is my favorite song off of this album. It's perfect. Back when I was a TA, I used to listen to this album all the time. This was like my grading papers soundtrack. It was just really relaxing and it got me through it. So this one is a controversial album, not just because it might be my favorite Zappa album. I say favorite, not best. But this one won't stay away from my turntable, and I'm not too upset about that. So you are what you is. So much. Every time I play this album, I get so happy, and like it's like a mini party in my room. Minimum when I play this album, I set my volume to 45. This has been like the soundtrack to my life for like the past 4 months at least. So I'm sorry to everyone who had to go through that, but I love it. I'm all about some controversial stuff. So when is Frank Zappa not controversial though? I mean, I think this is just on brand for him, you know? I mean, no shame, no guilt out of this album for sure. There's the label. Someone might have to bury me with it. The next one I picked up was Them or Us. This is another one of those albums that I didn't want to confuse with, what is it, Francisco? Not the best album ever, but I really like it. There's the label on that one. We're on to the final album. This one I saved for last, not only because I bought all these last few albums together, but just because this album cover might be one of my favorites. The Man from Utopia. Look at him. Look at him. I'm gonna be honest. I really like this album. There's one disappointment though. When I listened to a majority of the songs for the first time, it was, I streamed it, and Luigi and the Wise Guys was on it. It's not on this album. And here, I'll pull out so you can look at the back cover too. You've got this sick ass artwork, and then you've got this dude chilling in the corner, ruining it for everybody. Creepy ass little piece of poop. He freaking looks like a piece of cheese. Like, what even is that? You guys have nightmares over that too, right? But yeah, Man from Utopia, this is probably up there compared to a lot of his later stuff that he did. Sometimes I think I like this album more for the artwork, but I mean, you can't tell me I'm wrong. So that is all. Actually, I probably have more solo Zappa than the Mothers, but I thought Mother's Day, and it's something. Yeah, but I've got a lot of work to do on my Zappa collection. I know that. You don't have to point out the missing holes. I know they're there, so that's just me. I don't think I've ever been so dedicated to like collect and collect and collect for like a certain artist as fast. I don't know. That's just what he does to you. That's what he did to me, and he could do it to you too. Beware. And if he already got you, I'm joining you. But yeah, that's really it for this video. I wasn't really planning on anything else. If you made it this long, good for you, bro. Love ya. Goodbye.